1, 2, 3, paddle up!
Hey. Here they are. Oh my gosh. Look at all these beautiful people.
Right.
Welcome to episode 25. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, and we'd like to acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. Here at Vibe Union, we want to be completely inclusive of everybody, and we always work towards those values, and we're glad you're here to join us today to, I feel like we're ushering in a new era of Vibe Union. We're bringing in more of the creative fields, and this is kind of the start of that journey. So thank you for being here with us. My name is Amutha, and to my left, cool. This is Sixpence, and to my right, we have Saskia. So Saskia actually does the photos for most of our events, as well as David. And Jaden is just a fucking dope rapper. I don't know if I can swear so soon. It's happened. We can't go back in time. It's all good. So the topic, that we're about to discuss is a very exciting one. It means so many different things to different people. So I want to throw it to you guys. What does writing mean to you? Huge question. I know. Answer it as abstract or as precise as you want to answer that.
We're throwing it to me, apparently.
Definitely.
Yeah. Writing, shit. The feeling when people they get into science or they get into religion or they get into some sort of faith that makes sense of the world. That's how they connect to the world. That's how they make sense of themselves within it and purpose. The writing has just given me that clarity.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, right? That was a fantastic answer.
Yeah.
For me, it just means, I would say self-expression, but it's also more than that. I also agree it's some sort of purpose behind it. It makes me feel purposeful in the world. And yeah, I don't know, when I'm writing is when I feel kind of most complete. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I want to kind of just pick at your brains a little bit. Just express however you feel like expressing, whatever you're feeling comfortable expressing. I want to understand what kind of goes behind your writing. What are you bringing to your specific, unique flavor? What's your process like in that sense? Any of you? I keep looking to you because you're to my
If you
right.
have something, go ahead, because I'm still thinking.
That's fine. I was actually going to go off what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But I'd said this to Jaden and I say this to a few people. Writing is 5% writing. The rest, 95% of it, is everything you do outside of it. You're consuming, you are learning, you're growing, you're finding the voice for the piece that's going to happen next. And generally with me, when I sit down, it's a piece that I need to write. But it gets to a point where it comes out. And there's that really overused Hemingway quote, which is you write, you just bleed onto the page. And that's kind of what happens. And then you go back and you can edit, and that's a good thing about writing. But yeah, it comes to a point. Obviously, you can sit down, you can kind of teach yourself to write. You can specifically trigger off with, prompts and everything. But mostly with the pieces, the best pieces or the pieces that mean more to you and that you really want to share, it just happens at a point, and it's because of that 95%.
Beautiful. Yeah. The world inspires you to create. And I'm saying this more to myself than to the audience at home, but allow the world to inspire you. If you're feeling some kind of creative block, you're feeling bogged down by what you're doing, just give yourself permission to chill. And maybe that's what you need. You need to be rejuvenated by the world around you to get back into your creative zone. And there's no need to feel bad about that. That's something it comes naturally with that, accessing that space within you. You need to be able to, be inspired by the world. So I really appreciate that response. It's so important. What have you got for me, man?
So the question was kind of what comes behind the writing, or Yeah, for me, like I do agree with Saskia in the sense that I think there are some times where things would just kind of come to me and in a sense bleed out into the page. But for me, it's not all. I don't always write with an intention or a topic, or I think for me it's just I guess some sort of, yeah, like I said, there's some sort of completeness out of writing, and like I've got this sort of creative energy inside of me, and sometimes I just feel that coming on, and this needs to be expressed. Sometimes, but then sometimes I force myself to write as well, and and that can also be very therapeutic in itself sometimes, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like it at the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's
cathartic. I like that too. I definitely, for myself, I don't write in the same capacity that these two write. And like do you on top of writing like lyrics, do you also write just like random streams of consciousness or whatever, like stuff like that?
Yeah, sometimes I find myself writing ideas. Like sometimes you might have an idea for like a novel or something, you might just write that down. You might not, it's never going anywhere, but just recording ideas is something that's important to me. And sometimes.
Thank you. That is a drunk rye right there.
You felt the wrath.
So, like, just real quick, we are actually at a party at the moment. There is a like DJ
Exhibit A
deck right in the room next door, and we took this moment. We were like, you know what? We need to like express ourselves a little bit right now.
The vibes are
and
right.
We set up this whole joint. I'm going to try and pan the camera at the end of this podcast so you can see what the hell we're doing right now. But yeah, we decided to set up real quick. I'm so sorry that interruption happened.
You're good.
Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I had something, but it's gone now. But that's okay. Might find it later.
Let it go. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is cathartic and writing, like sometimes you just write thoughts and ideas, and I think that was beautiful because look, even if you don't think an idea is going to go somewhere, if it's like giving you that inspiration, it's exciting the moment, why not just write it down and feed that part of yourself? It's like a little exercise you're doing, I just want to, one thing I will add is your ideas are a reflection of your individuality, and therefore they're worth recording. That's why beautiful.
That's like, even if it's something that you don't think has a lot of merit, it's your own original idea, and that's authentic to yourself. And I think that's worth keeping a record for, to reflect on or to not. Just yeah.
Hell yeah. Wow. Powerful. I love that. All right. I'm actually going to throw it to you. I know I'm the host, but do any of you guys want to pose a question about writing to one another? Do you have anything that comes to mind as writers? What do you want to ask other writers? What interests you in that regard?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so do you guys feel like there was a moment in your life where you found that writing was something important to you, or do you feel like it was kind of always something that made sense to you?
Interesting. Did you want to?
Yeah, okay. This is it's interesting because I was always seen as a writer, and I even though it was very private, I was always seen as a creative and thinker and being. But my plan was to get into science from the get-go, and it wasn't until halfway through year 12 that I went, well, actually, no, literature is what I've always been passionate about, what helps me, who I am. I love reading, I love writing. Broke my finger writing so many essays in year 12.
Wow, the grind.
Yeah. But, I mean, obviously, you've got to find balance, but I think that was that was the time that I realised that I love it, and also realised over the past few years that I can let go of it as well at the same time. Yeah. So it's always been, but it comes and goes because there are other things I need to focus on at the same time. But it's a hard balance, and because I've definitely been in the space where I'm like, I'm a writer and I need to commit to that, and I need to embody that wholly. And you start writing how you think that a writer should write.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Okay. I have a follow-up question, but it slipped my mind, so I'm going to quickly jump to what I was actually going to say, and if it comes back to me, I'd like to ask you. So to answer your question, I used to write quite a bit growing up. I would write scripts. I have so many scripts of like different TV show I was working on. Love and that. All random bits and pieces. But then, I focused that energy more into my songwriting, and I like to do a bit of storytelling when I write. It's all very abstract and weird, and I really enjoy it. But I'm gonna tell this story. This is a weird ass story, but you're gonna hear it. You're
Let's
gonna
go.
get a piece of my mind.
Vibe Unit exclusive.
Vibe Unit, mad exclusives. We need to get TMZ up in this. Anyway, so basically, my first the reintroduction of writing into my life after years and years actually happened when I was about 20 years old. So I was going through a really, really bad relationship. And I was on the phone with this guy. It was like 4 a.m. It was just a horrible situation. And I ended up putting the phone down, just be like, can you just leave me alone? Hung up. And I started writing this piece, and I'm gonna do it for you now. Are you ready? And I don't know if I remember the whole thing. It's been yonks, a long time since I've last done this. My mind's about to burst with all this information, and I'm trying to get my thoughts right into formation. And the aforementioned burst is physical and mental, like a crane dropping pain on my brain's internal. And this cranium is inflaming. I'm thinking I'm gonna go insane, and I just might grab onto the mic and start to bust out a string of fight and beat up your ideologies with ease. My life energy can take you to the next dimension and back. You can walk beyond the quantum physical and still lack even the slightest bit of awareness. You fucking lunatic. I'll pray to every god I know for you, cause they're more likely to exist. Are you present? Should I repeat the question, or are you so stuck on wondering this whole dimension thing? I'm trying to educate, but you're teaching me a lesson lacking empathy. You're schooling me. I want to end the session, but I can't, because I'm here with you too, trying to figure out this life thing, but I won't go about it cruel. I got my mind on bringing peace, and my eyes on seeing soul, and the vibrations of the universe is keeping me in control over the clip that I lack on your reality. And you can call me crazy, but what's crazy is thinking I'm naive. You're seeing life through a pinhole, and that's your truth. I see more truth in the rivers of blood after the siege of Beirut. And now I'm preaching about war, but you really got nothing worth dying for. You were born with no attachments here, and every thought you have is insincere. It's based around a lie you built, and your pleasant bills never been shook. Your life was crafted based on prior theories, and what they're feeding you is kind of leery. By this, get a job, get the girl and the car. Is all this shit meant to help you know who you really are? Well, I'll tell you right now that defining your void is gonna leave you more lost and your purpose destroyed. All at once. Yeah, I did not stop. It just...
You bled onto the page.
Yeah, bled onto the
your
page.
void.
There we go.
Yeah, defining your void. That line that hits.
Yeah, that's a powerful line. That's great writing.
Thank you so much. That's where it begun. I was like, oh, there is something in me that wants to speak. Let me create space for it. Let me connect to it. Let me allow it to express itself through me, because it is nourishing. That was cathartic. It really was. I let something out in that moment, and it didn't come out as a tear. It came out as words on a page.
Powerful.
All right. That was hectic. Thank you for coming along with me on that journey.
Thank you for bringing us along.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
And I still don't remember that completely distracted me.
Man with ADHD walks into a bar. He won't remember the punchline until he gets home. It's all good.
I love it. All right. So still out of questions, not going to lie. Does anyone... No.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
No, I had one.
Oh, no.
It escaped me. That seems to be the other theme of tonight.
Yeah.
Is memory loss.
Yeah. Memory loss. Okay. Let's just riff off that for a second. We don't even need to go anywhere with this. Let's just see where it's going. If you had constant memory loss and there was only one thing that you could constantly remember and write about, what would it be?
I mean, it'd have to be whatever you're doing in that second, right?
No, but what if you could choose this precise memory that you could remember forever and write in explicit detail every time you're experiencing it differently from different angles, I guess? Do you have a memory like that you'd want to be able to express in different kind of ways? It's a very, very abstract question. We're going
It's a really interesting question. Anything jump out to you?
I'm having different flashes of things.
Me too.
Almost like a montage of just very snippets of moments.
I think my mind typically jumps to some of the more traumatic episodes, but I mean, you know that the writing's going to be good, but is it worth it?
At what cost?
At what cost? You
Yeah.
kind of want something that has a bit of a nuance to emotion to it, where it's kind of multi-layered and multi-dimensional.
Yeah,
Right.
you want something that's almost like
You be-
obscure and mundane in the same way of like, okay, well, it seems very mundane, but what does it represent that moment in time?
Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, I
It's
thought
a-
someone's going to jump off that.
I'm gonna need some. Cause
That's a
I
hard
want
one.
to give that a real answer.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
You know what I mean?
We can let it go. Maybe I'll just, because, you
Yeah, if
know,
you got something.
I don't have anything, but I'm just going to go
Well,
with it.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
You run.
No? Okay. All right. Let's jump into it.
I remembered my question from before, by the way.
Sorry?
I remember.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah,
Throw it at me.
Saskia, you mentioned that you do quite a bit of reading, and it's commonly sort of said that you know, if you're more of a proficient reader, that it correlates to your writing ability. Do you guys think that's true? Do you think that's
No, I would actually argue against that.
against it?
I think that that's really elitist
Mm.
in mentality, in the sense that like, for instance, I like my spelling and grammar is terrible. Just because I can read is not the reason why I write. I wrote before I read. And the people who have come up with that idea are the people who are well educated and therefore well read and therefore
It's a bit of a neoliberalist sort of
yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like you look at the Beat Generation and people idolize
That's
them.
me agreeing with you, by the way.
Yeah, no, yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, it was okay. I was just like, I got wrapped up in my head and I was
Yeah.
like, yes, you're saying something to me. Yes. Yeah, it's just like the, you know, Beat Generation idea. We have this like idealized, starving artist struggling, like, you know, drugs, addiction, mental health. But all of those artists, all those writers specifically, were so privileged. You know, and the canon that we were talking about earlier, kind of like what is literature in the sense, it's that typical white privilege, like male-esque, but even female voices as well. And we've heard those stories before. And just because they can write well, just because they know how to spell, just because they know how to punctuate, just because they can stick to word limits, like it doesn't mean that they're a good writer. I think when you have heart and
Right.
soul and something behind it, that exudes to the audience.
That's beautiful.
Just something to add, if I may.
Please.
Please.
Answering the same question from a different approach. You know, it's kind of like what you were saying before. You end up writing in a way that you feel a writer should write. If you're doing a lot of reading, you're eventually going to start emulating what you think you should be doing. If you lack kind of outside influence, your ideas will be more original and more authentic to yourself
Yeah.
because they don't have an external influence. And I think that's kind of also really powerful.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, jumping off of that, you know, doing creative writing consistently, because doing like that, I'm forcing myself to do stream of consciousness every day. That's still stream of consciousness. It's not planned. You're not, you know. But that being what I was doing, because I wasn't at uni at the time, like I read back on that writing and my voice is not my voice. It is lost. It is so confused and you can hear that. It was interesting, the voice that I've come into now and feel so much more comfortable and wrote something and went, oh, I'm here. This is my voice. This is my story. I finally feel comfortable in it.
It's the best feeling.
Yeah. But it was after a year of doing academic writing,
Wow.
not creatively writing for a year.
Wow.
Just, and separating myself from it.
Huge.
But looking at that, well, I have to recreate this essay. I have to recreate this thesis. I have to stick within the confines of what, like...
So it's a bit of a rebellion against it after all that.
Almost. So you know me, I can't stick to any sort of boundary or rule or line or law. But man with ADHD walks into a bar. Yeah. You know, with listening to rap, you know, when you're writing, because my rap is very much spoken word. And so it links up with poetry quite well. And there's this very like spectrum of spoken word. Did you find yourself overlapping it? Not overlapping it, emulating rappers?
Well, I was just about to say that in terms of rap and poetry. There was a very specific template that you're expected to emulate. For example, if you're in a class and you're supposed to say, write a poem, you already kind of know what that poem's going to sound like, but it doesn't have to sound that way. And that's why we're kind of conditioned to be, okay, it's got to be really poetic, it's got to use a lot of romantic language and stuff. It doesn't have to. And so, yeah, so just to finish that thought of what I was saying before about external influence. But, sorry, your question was about what rap and...
Did you find yourself emulating certain rap styles like after engaging with that music?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, that's, you kind of almost have to start, because as far as all well and good it is to try and, dispel yourself away from external influence, you have to get inspiration to start with from somewhere. So therefore, you start with some sort of influence, and this makes you want to do it. So therefore, I do feel like I was, I did kind of emulate a lot of the music I was listening to. But that kind of helped me in a way, because to be honest, that in terms of music and lyrical ability and flow and stuff like that, I held myself up to the same standard of the things that I was consuming. And I think that was a big push for me to develop my own craft. And then I think through engaging with this sort of like plethora of influences, I slowly started to kind of form my own style. And then I also, through development of critical thought, just through life, I started like thinking about separating myself from what I was listening to and forming my own sort of individuality in my expression.
Nice. Okay, so something that's interesting to me as well, and like, I guess I fall asleep when I go to any kind of schooling. I just can't help it. My brain just shuts off. Like, it just does not compute. So like, I have, by this fluke of this mind, been able to completely erase theory or all that stuff from my mind. I just don't even understand how it functions. I listen to music. I can't replicate it just because I'm not processing it in that way. And so like, when I make music, it sounds absolutely cooked. Like, it's very like, I like it. It's
authentic though.
But yeah, it's me. And I appreciate it for being that. So like,
that's why I really like your music.
Thank you guys. You guys are dope. And I like your creations. Just anything that comes out of you, I can feel your voices coming through, and like, that is life-giving. As an audience member, as a participant of the music,
there's an actual sort of feeling you get from listening, reading someone's work, where you can tell that it's authentic to them. There's a feeling you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and it can be a rarity, but it's so special when you find it. And yeah, especially if you hold that as a high value in yourself and how you perceive it, in like the art of whatever you're consuming. Yeah, it's very special.
Beautifully
and
said.
I get that from both of you guys a lot.
Oh, bless. I actually was going to throw that to you guys. Do you feel that from your own work when you read back on your own work?
Oh, yeah. Recently, that poem that I presented twice now, but reading it and writing it was shocking for me, even just to be like, I say bluntly, but it wasn't quite blunt and like shocking and upfront about what the meaning actually was. But when I finished it, the first draft, and I reread it, I was making more connections. I was like, that's really interesting. I actually hadn't realized how it was connected to this, and it shocked me. But I appreciated it for that, because it was actually helping me close up a few like open boxes, as in a sense. But to have that same kind of like idea or that same feeling or that same kind of narrative shared amongst a variety of writers and creators in their own style and their own language and their own, voices, makes you feel more confident in yourself and go like, we have the same kind of things, but it's us. It's our version of this.
Definitely. What's the title of that piece again, by the way?
Cremation Rites.
Cremation Rites. You guys need to know that is Cremation Rites is some of the best writing I've ever heard. It's incredible, and it does feel totally authentic. So seriously, props. Catch it at Ronnie's Blue Bar, Talking Blue. Okay,
Tuesdays.
Rock up.
Do it 7 p.m. We'll all be there chilling.
Get your mind blown.
Oh, absolutely. Every time we've done one of these, it's been an experience and a half. I don't know how Vibe Union puts on such fucking dope events every
because
time.
the people who founded Vibe Union are passionate
Yes.
and are authentic and have voices.
That's the thing.
It's all love.
It's not just talent, it's positivity, you know, in the masses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In the masses.
Good vibes
Love it.
only. We don't fuck around at Vibe Union. Only the good vibes. But we'll take the bad vibes, but we're going to convert you to good vibes. You're going to transmute
We
within us.
appreciate the bad vibes
That's
of what
it.
they are, what we learn from them, and we
we go.
write about it.
That's it. That's it. Did you have a response as well?
I did. So the question was, do I feel my own self within my own creations? And it's a yes and no answer for me. I think, you know, when I think about it, like I was saying, I just feel like a culmination of all my experiences. Oh, sorry, not influences. Of all my influences, I take bits and pieces for everything. Musically, things I listen to, and I feel like I've generated my own style from that. And so it's kind of like, yes, because it's my own unique culmination. You know, no one else will ever have that sort of melting pot that I have that's unique to myself, and I embrace that. But there is an also, and I do feel like it is myself. And like, don't get me wrong, like, I think like I'll read through my lyrics after I've written it, and I'll be like, oh man, yeah, I know that line was greatly influenced from this artist, you know, and it might be even greatly influenced by people that I'm listening to at the time, or, you know, if you're writing, authors or poets that you're reading a lot of, that's normal. But yeah, you know, I do think that I do feel a sort of authenticity to my own work, especially when I feel like I come up with maybe a creative line, because that's what I get the most pleasure out of, is coming up with kind of lines with kind of like that make you think a bit, or they have like a clever twist to it.
Crazy wordplay.
Wordplay, yeah, I'll enjoy wordplay.
Oh, it's insane.
And I feel like there are certain things I include in my lyrics that I enjoy. Like I make lots of historical references and stuff, and philosophical references, because that's stuff that I'm interested in. And I feel like when I can take those things that I have personal interest in and create it into like a witty punchline or something, that's when I feel like I'm being more authentic to myself, because it feels like a puzzle to me, and that's what I love about writing.
So good.
Can I jump in with a question?
Yeah.
2 things, actually. First statement. Actually, no, 2 questions. The first one is, as performers, is there a disparity or a dissonance between yourself as writing and what that writing represents, and as a performer? Because I know in hearing you speak about writing and rapping, you know, you're getting up there and like you might be feeling nervous, and the poem might be saying but the writing might be saying one thing, and your energy is saying another. You know, is there a disparity between those?
So my engagement with live performance is I try to embody whatever energy was creating the piece. So regardless of how I'm feeling, like that's there, and it's not even put to the side. It's just like I'm going to allow whatever I'm feeling, but I'm going to kind of channel it into this particular song. And like, you know, I'll try and kind of weave something together on the spot, and I've been pretty lucky so far that it's worked. But yeah, I guess I will tend to embody the song, so there's no disparity. I mean, if I could say, like, my artist name is my birth name, and I think it's kind of representative of how I want to approach my art. It is my life. It is who I am, and I want to be able to just be as authentic in every moment, and that includes like my extends out to my music as well, I feel. Did you want to?
Great answer.
Thank you so much.
And I was going to like answer it similarly as well, in the sense that I also channel the sort of emotion that was powering the writing to begin with, and kind of reliving it through the performance. I mean, I definitely see that when I see you performing live. I can feel you like getting into the zone and delivering how you need to deliver in that moment. I totally feel that off you. I think
Killer.
I think I'm quite lucky in the sense that my writing style is also quite energetic and kind of passion driven. So that typically helps in performance, because it can help your showmanship in a sense.
Yeah. Nice. And did you have a second question?
I did have a second question. You mentioned that those lines, you come up with a line. I always write them down on sticky notes. I got a mad sticky note pile. It's insane. But they might sit there for ages and I won't touch them. Do you guys have any lines that you might have written recently?
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
top.
Oh God. I wish I had my phone on me right now. Yeah, I have so many.
Yeah.
Every day I'm just thinking of random lines like I'm going to turn this into something and that just sits on my notes forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's nice. This is kind of referring back to like just go off the inspiration. Just express it. Make it real. Just don't keep it inside yourself. Even if you put it down onto your phone, just make it real. Train that part of yourself. It's really like flexing a muscle. It's practice. Just do it.
You know what else is the beauty of thinking of a really great line is a line is only so good as its placement within a song as well. So building everything else around that's kind of the best part. Working out where you want it. Do you want it at the start? Is it going to be like set the mood to a song, or do you want it at the end because that's like where it's going to hit the hardest? Maybe you want it in the middle so you can kind of use it as a bridge to kind of like open up a second part of the song. Like that's what I love. Like that's coming up with a creative line or whatever is the beginning of something beautiful.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm usually like I have, I don't know about you, but I have literally like in the past week I've written down maybe like, a minimum of 20, just 2 lines, and then I look at them like I just cannot put those together at all. That won't make sense. And building around, so I respect the fact that you can actually think of lines and then it's almost like fun for you to kind of build around them.
I seriously see writing as a puzzle for me.
That's amazing.
Like,
beautiful.
And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like one of those puzzle kids. Like, I ain't doing jigsaws. I was never good at that.
Puzzle kids,
gang, gang. But like, for me, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like a word game,
Yeah.
but it's better than that because it's your own voice and it's music and it's energy and it's something just really, really empowering about it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's fun. It's so fun. And it just like I said before, it just feels purposeful for me.
That's awesome.
As I'm sure it does for you guys.
Oh, absolutely. It's healing, it's cathartic, it's sharing, connection, all them good things. Did you have anything to say? Because I'm thinking of...
I got one more thing.
Oh, please.
I once stumbled across a blog from a man who reviewed different Arnott's biscuits.
Legend.
Amazing, right?
So good.
Do you think that this is equally as cathartic for him as creative writing could be?
Oh, for sure, man.
Absolutely.
He identifies with these biscuits in very particular kind of ways. He's accessing different parts of himself through expressing in those particular biscuits his feelings towards those biscuits. Hell yeah. He might not even know it on a conscious level. Subconsciously, he is letting stuff out. He's dealing with stuff that's his way. For sure.
There's a reason behind he started this blog, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so I could see it. I could genuinely, like,
Yeah.
I can understand the energy behind it, the intention.
Yeah.
He's got a specific love for these biscuits and he wants to share that with the world. And
Beautiful.
hey, a biscuit lover like myself, I stumbled across that, all right? I read a few of them, the Monte Carlo.
The Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo. Yeah, so...
They hit the spot. What the hell are they even? There's that like weird red layer, then there's cream inside. Like, what are you made
velvety.
of? Gosh. Anyway. So I'm thinking I think we wrap it up. Any final thoughts to let these people drift away on the breeze with? Oh, we're all flabbergasted. Okay, well, I
was just gonna say this has been a fantastic podcast.
Really and truly.
Just like I love being able to articulate these sort of things. They're not things that you do externally much or internally for that matter. Yeah. And to do it with other, like fantastic creatives such as yourself, it's been super interesting and fantastic.
Yeah, man. Sharing perspectives. And that's the whole point of writing. You're sharing your own personal perspective. Someone else reads it. They relate to it. It's cathartic for them. You make that connection without even realizing. So like if writing is something that you are drawn to do, definitely express it. Even if it's not writing, if it's singing, just self-expression, let it out. Not just for yourself, but for the rest of the world. You don't understand the kind of impact your words have, whether they're hitting someone's ears or not.
Don't be afraid to share yourself because it's the best thing you have to offer.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to sign off. Have a lovely afternoon, morning, evening, anywhere in between those times of days. If you're out of the time-space continuum, thank you for joining us. I didn't realize we were so important that interdimensional creatures needed to watch this podcast. But for sure, I believe it, though. You know, we're dope human beings. We're bringing that energy into this world. Weird way to end this podcast, but there we go. Sending love, signing off. Be well.